So I'd like to thank you for joining us today. My name is Valerie Brown. I'm the Senior Program Officer at United Policyholders, and our topic for today's Survivor Forum is Healing and Dealing at the 1-year anniversary. If you're new to UP, this is a little bit about us. We've been in action since 1991, helping disaster survivors. We're not for profit, not for sale, and we work across the nation helping people with their insurance claims and advocating for them in insurance matters. And if you do not have the little yellow book, please send an email to info@uphelp.org to get a copy mailed to you. This is our California Wildfire Library for the 2020 fires. We also have one for Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. And so these are a great resource for you to see sample letters, examples of different forms, links and tips and publications to help you with the claims process. About our team up, we have a small professional staff based in San Francisco. We have professional government and nonprofit partners, and then we have our survivor volunteers and our consumer-focused professionals that help us in this space. Fine print, this workshop is intended to be general guidance only, not legal advice. And we say if you have a specific legal question, we recommend you consult an experienced policyholder attorney. We do not endorse or warn any of our sponsors on our website or speakers at our workshop. Today's presenters, we've got Annie Barber. Annie, if you'll raise your hand. We would have Jacques Lord. He's a team up member from the 2007 Witch Creek fire, but his partner had a leg injury, and so they just drove the doctor, and he gave me a heads up he would not be able to join us today. And then we have Sue Piper, who is in the dark screen there, and she's also waylaid with a leg injury, no puns intended there. So everybody be very careful with your legs leaving this meeting today, and be careful tomorrow. And Sue, I'm going to mute myself and turn it over to you.
Okay, well, before I actually begin, can I just ask you to go to the participants thing and rename yourself by adding where, which fire you are a survivor of, so that I can get an idea of where you're from. I am one of the oldies. I lost my home in the 1991 Oakland Hills firestorm. And that was probably the first trial of United Policyholders. They kind of cut their teeth on helping us get through our recovery. This is a picture of my house. I'm sure it looks familiar to you. Our entire hill looked like bombed out London. We had chimneys and other things. Now, the only thing that we had that they didn't have in London is it seems that the Weber fire grills survived a 2,000-degree fire. And so you'd see lots of Weber fire grills on the hillside. But, that was my house. You want to go to the next slide? And that's my family 30 years ago. The kids are now 39 and 34 with kids of their own. But we actually were lucky because across the street from us, 3 houses survived because someone who didn't know the owners of one of the houses, but his father had a house that burned, got on the roof with a fire hose and protected that house, and then it protected the other 2 houses below. And one of the houses below was a brand new house that had not sold. And so 2 days after the fire, we contacted the realtor and asked if we could rent it for 2 years. And so we lived across the street from our property. And, actually it was very good. It kind of normalized things for our kids. And this is the property, not really cleared up, but you can see there's the foundation and trees and charred stuff. You want to go to the next slide? And then we had Easter. We always had a tradition of the kids doing Easter egg hunts. And those are my twins. They were about 4 years old at the time. And we did an Easter egg hunt among the ruins. And, we just felt it was a part of life. It's going to be a part of their lives. We just made it part of our life. Next page. So the lessons learned over the times, I think the first thing is this is a very stressful time. So be very kind to yourself. You can describe it. It's been whatever kind of year you think it is, but your health and your mental health and that of your family is most important. You don't have to make decisions right away. You make sure that you are taking care of yourself, because this is not a short race. This is a long race that you're going to have to get through. It could take 2 or more years from beginning to end. And so, and then you still are dealing with it years later. So first of all, be kind to yourself and understand that other people may have no idea what this is like. To me, it was like juggling 5 different jobs at once, because I had to deal with the insurance, which was, a pain in the neck to begin with. We were working with an architect to rebuild our house. I happened to be in a homeowners association. So my homeowners association was in the process of reviewing all of its rules and regulations so that when we rebuilt, people would not build monster homes. And then there was a larger organization that helped us, that served as a liaison with the city as the city was dealing with changes and things. And so we had all of that. That was even before we found a contractor to build the house. And my husband and I still had our work, and we had 3 kids at home. And so it is very, very stressful. And if you're not a person who pays attention to detail, well, it's overwhelming anyway, but it's even worse if you can't manage attention to detail. So other people may not understand, and you just have to keep that in mind. They may offer to help, but they don't know how to help. And so what I found to be very helpful is to think of ways where they could help you. For example, when we had to put together a list of contents, and you know how hard that is if you've lost everything, because, we didn't have a list. I had to go look through catalogs. I remember going home for Thanksgiving. Our fire was in October. I went home to New York for Thanksgiving and looking in my mother's kitchen drawers and saying, I had that, just to jog my memory. And you can ask people to look at pictures and help identify things so that you don't have to do it all by yourself. But it helps if you take a little time to think about what other people can do for you and to suggest it, because it relieves some of the pressure on you, and they really do want to help you. And then finally, connecting with other fire survivors can be really, really helpful. Sometimes you feel like you're in this all by yourself, and you're not. When these disasters hit, your neighbors are going through the same thing, although, everybody deals with it differently. But to know that you're not alone can be very reassuring. And also you can learn a lot. One of the things that United Policyholders did, and it's sort of a hallmark of what they do ever since 1991, is they organize people in user groups by your insurance company. And I can tell you that is very, very helpful, because you don't all have the same adjuster, and it helps to find out what the adjusters are telling other people to make sure that you're all being treated the same way. The story I tell is my husband went to one of these groups, and we had State Farm, and they had given us about $500 to rent furniture. And then he found out that, oh no, we're entitled to have furniture that's comparable to what we had. And the Hill or Highlands area is a high-end area. So my husband wrote a very strongly worded letter to the head of State Farm, telling them that if they didn't give us what we deserved, that he was going to file a complaint with the insurance commissioner. And 6 weeks later, we got a check for $2,500, which is certainly better than $500. So and he wouldn't have known that if he hadn't gone to one of these groups. So it's very, very helpful to network with other people. It will help you feel more comfortable, and you also can bounce ideas off of other people and make your negotiation with the insurance company that much better. Next slide. Know that although you travel the path alone, there are people all around who are willing to help. And that's what I said before. You've got relatives who may not live where you are, but they can certainly help If you have a list of contents, they could go online and fill in the blanks about costs or other things. They can do all sorts of things that research on the internet that you might not have time to do. And you should ask for help. I learned that, if you noticed with the pictures, I have twins, and I learned that when I was pregnant with the twins, that you should ask for help because you can't do it all by yourself. And so that was a good lesson I learned. Greet each day with gratitude. I mean, if you think about, well, I'm alive, it's sunshine today, I'm thankful for my family, I'm thankful for my friends, it puts a positive perspective and makes the experience less awful. I mean, it's awful to begin with, but it does help. And find good support. If you're involved with a church or a synagogue or a sports team or even people from work or other single people, it's important to continue to be involved, because when you go back to the very first thing I said about taking care of yourself, you don't want to be isolated. It's a lot of work to do, and you need people who can remind you that there's more to life than just replacing your house. Also, find a good financial advisor, a lawyer, a therapist. In Oakland, FEMA provided money for therapists for survivors. My husband and I took advantage of it a year after the fire. What we found is, I'm a redhead, and my husband is usually very calm, and I get very excited, except when it's very serious, I get very calm. And what I found in the fire is that we switched personalities. He was getting all emotional, I was being calm. And we had been married for 13 years. And as we were picking out things for the house and for the rebuild of the house, all of a sudden, the stranger had strange ideas of what he thinks it should look like. He wanted an Architectural Digest house. And I had 3 young kids who were going to put dirty fingerprints on the wall. And it was a change in roles. And we went to the therapist, to a support group. There was another couple. They were probably 20 years older than we were. We were in our 40s at the time, and they were probably in their 60s. They were going through the same thing. And so I realized that that's not unusual. So laugh a lot. That's important. And then you got to take care of your body. You got to eat healthy food. You got to keep your digestive tract in working order. Don't forget to take a bath. Pamper yourself. Get a massage. It's important because you've got to get yourself through all of this, and you want to be in the best health and frame of mind that you can possibly be. Next slide. Remember that people process loss and trauma in different ways. We rebuilt our house very quickly for disasters like this. We actually moved into our house about 2 days and 2 years after the anniversary of the firestorm. And we found that as we were getting towards October and knowing that we were going to be moving, both my husband and I and my older daughter started having problems sleeping at night. And I remember saying to her, I understand what this is. We're reliving the fire, but we're getting to the point where we can let it go because we know we're moving. And we acknowledged that. And then we were very happy to move into our house. Don't let the fire destroy your relationships in addition to your home. I think the lesson that I've learned, and you almost hear it over and over again from any survivor, is that they realize when you go through something like this, what's important are your family and your relationships, and everything else is just stuff. I mean, you mourn the loss of it, but it's stuff. People cannot be replaced. So work very hard, particularly with your significant other, because they're going through stress and they may react differently than you. And like I said, laugh a lot because it will get you through a lot. And as I talked about before, responses to stress may change your normal roles. And as I said, my husband and I completely switched the way we dealt with things. And we've been married for 50 years. Fortunately, we switched back after we moved into our house. But that was a rude awakening. Next slide. And there we are. And I have to say, my kids definitely understand that the twins were not home during the fire, but my older daughter was with me as we fled. And we were, in a bumper to bumper traffic trying to get out of the area. And a big stand of eucalyptus just burst into flame right in front of our car. And we couldn't go down the street because it was backed up. So I went down the wrong side of the street to pass the traffic and then turned in a very narrow road. And I realized I was going right to where those trees were headed. And I remember saying to her, you want to be a reporter? This is like the 1906 earthquake. Let's talk about this just to keep her focused. And interestingly, when we picked up the twins and decided to really go across the Bay Bridge, because I was afraid this fire was going to go right down to the bay. As we were going on the Oakland side of the bridge, my 9-year-old daughter said to me, Mommy, we're like the homeless, aren't we? We go through the tunnel and come out on the other side. And then she says, but not really, because we still have money. And I said, yes, and we still have insurance. And to this day, all 3 of my kids have their go bags. They understand it. And, it's a part of their life. But the other little anecdote is that as we were getting ready to move across the street, my son, who at that point was almost 6, said, oh, well, when this house burns down and we move, and I said, wait a minute, that's not the way it works. But in his life, that's what he observed. And, we just all remember that. And it's a very much a part of our family's history, but we're also very glad that it's behind us. And since then, my husband and I have really dedicated our lives to wildfire prevention. My husband is chair of the Oakland Landscape Committee, and he built 3 public gardens in our area that are either memorial gardens or educational gardens in an effort to maintain the fuel load so that we don't have as much stuff to burn. And I chair the Oakland Fire Safe Council. I'm the former chair of United Policyholders, and now I'm the secretary. And I, in my retirement, this is what I do, because I don't want anyone to have to go through what we did. And yet we know, we're lucky. Some of you are in areas where the fires have occurred every 2 years. Our big fire was 30 years ago, but we know that it could happen at any time. And, we don't want anybody to forget. So thank you. Should I go with this one too? Okay, let's see what else they have in here.
I was going to grab it, Sue. Sorry, I just needed to unmute. So this is more advice from fire survivors about thinking about as you're dealing with the anniversary. Whatever is on the outside can be taken away at any time. Only what is inside you is safe. And so, thinking about things that keep what's inside of you safe. So giving those hugs, greeting people with a smile, being kind, listening to soothing music, losing yourself in a good book. Don't getting caught up in the news, because I will be really frank, a lot of the news stories, the reporters are already looking for the stories about the 1-year anniversary. And so there's going to be a lot of stuff dug up. And so, just taking care of what you consume, what media you consume to keep yourself safe. And remembering that you're not alone, even though it feels that way, especially with COVID adding that other wrinkle here. And any of these things you want to pop in on, please feel free. Strategies for surviving, as Sue mentioned, finding the humor in the daily stuff, learning to accept and ask for help. You'll find definitely you have a chance to pay it forward. We've got Sandy Wetzel Smith on with us today. She lost her home in the 2003 Cedar Fire. And when my community burned in 2007, Sandy's group came in to help our folks, those 1,500 people who lost their homes, go through that same process and walked along with them to be able to share what they had learned and lessen that learning curve. And Annie with the Tubbs fire, they went to Paradise, to the campfire afterwards to help. And they're still helping. They were at the 2020 LACs all around Sonoma County, the Coffee Strong group. And one of the things that's important to note here, that third bullet, it's okay to allow yourself to have that pity party once in a while. Just, the thing is, just don't get stuck, have it, deal with it, work through it, and then just keep moving, because you want to get back where you need to be. These are some suggestions for other things to help you survive as you're going through the anniversary. All of these things are good. It really is what works for you as a person. I'm not a meditation person. If I try to quiet my mind, I get like 8 different things that I should be doing going in my head. Exercising is probably more my speed, but if you're somebody who journals, whatever works for you, it's just finding what that is to help, again, calm yourself and keep yourself going through this process. Here's an example of art. This is a very common thing. People will take those leftover pieces post-fire and turn them into a work of art.
And I'd like to just interject that just remember that this is very much, it kind of runs the gamut of the same things you go through with a death. So you're in a grieving process, and so the 1-year anniversary may hit you a lot harder than you're expecting. You may think that you're going to sail right through it, and you may, and I hope you do. But if you don't, just know that's why. You've lost a lot. You've lost your comfort zone. You've lost the place that you could let down, the place that had everything around surrounding you spoke of who you were and the travels you've taken in life. So give yourself grace on that.
And this is not the time to tough it out. If you're having anxiety or depression here, don't shy away from seeking professional help. As Sue, sorry, this is advancing on its own. As Sue mentioned, there is FEMA funded mental health services available. So please take advantage of that. If you don't know, just email us at the info@uphelp.org. We can connect you to those resources. And you might not need it now, but you might need it later. So just, keep that as a resource, as an opportunity available in the future. And one of the things is just celebrating along the way. It's a long process. You want to celebrate those small victories as you get them, because that's what's going to give you that emotional strength to keep going. You're going to be making new memories. And I'll apologize. Several of these photos here are 2007 folks. So, we would do groundbreaking parties. We would do stud parties. When we would do a stud party, we would have the wine and, the snacks, and it would be a potluck. And we would literally write good wishes on the framing of the house so that people knew, that we were thinking of them afterwards. Because again, we're looking to make those new memories about what it looks like moving forward. And so these are, here's a blessing. A couple of people would put some risque messages over the fireplace in the master bedroom. There's some funny things that people do, but again, having that humor in daily life, and just recognizing this is your new normal, and working that into how you move forward. Like Sue said, her kids, their new normal is they have that to-go bag ready to go. It's, and to be in their 40s and have that habit trained into you, it shows that impact that this type of, as Annie said, this type of trauma has. Here are some resources that are available up to you. These are also on our website, so please take advantage of these if you have a need.